You're listening to That's Pretty Dark,
the podcast where we talk about all of the entertainment that scared us as children
and still haunts us as adults. So grab your flashlight and join us as we take a frightfully nostalgic look over our shoulders.
And under our beds.
And in our closets.
And together we'll realize, whoa, that's pretty dark.
That's pretty dark. But if I was going to get flashlight tattoo,
right,
I would get two flashlights right on my hips, pointed down like the guns.
Yep, that makes sense.
But they're flashlights.
As soon as you said that you wanted two, I knew where you were going to put them.
Illumination. Illuminating. Very enlightening.
Yeah, we're here on That's Pretty Dark talking about getting flashlight tattoos.
Yeah. We actually genuinely were talking about flashlight tattoos.
We probably will. We will have some matching tats, and then you guys can show us your flashlight tattoos.
Everybody get a flashlight tattoo.
Do it with us.
If we can decide what tattoo to get, we can never decide where to get them.
Yeah.
It's always such a tricky,
it's much harder for me. Like, the placement is much harder for me than the image.
Me too. I get way too symbolic with it. It's
just
too much symbolism.
Same.
I need to think of all the places where I want a tattoo and then get tattoos everywhere else but those spaces.
To torture yourself?
I mean, really it's no different than what I normally do on a regular basis. So
You're not wrong.
You heard that right. That's Pretty Dark. I'm Christian.
I'm Kalyn.
We're going to have a really, really fun time today. It's going to be so much fun.
I'm in this weird, retro radio headspace. I don't know why. Whenever we said it like that, I was like, yeah, now I'm Kalyn and you're listening too. I've been listening to a whole bunch of Irish folk music this week. Nonstop. That'll take you there. Just dancing jigs, lots of fiddle. It's been great. And I'm also drinking Irish whiskey to commemorate tonight's episode. You're all on theme. I'm so not on theme. Except that I am having bad luck. Ooh, yeah. My car has been in the shop for 11 days due to a incorrect, insufficient, failed oil change. They destroyed the housing of my oil filter. Damn. So. Well, you have to have it in there for 13 days to complete the cycle. Well, it's on track. Yeah, it is on track to do just that. Don't worry. Sounds a lot like you pissed off the fairies. The pixies. The pixies. Well, what's the difference? Let's get into it. Yeah, do tell. Because today we're talking about Season 1 of Are You Afraid of the Dark, Episode 10, The Tale of Jake and the Leprechaun. Oh, do you know what I did accomplish this week? What? I learned how to spell leprechaun. Perfect. Because I had to spell it so many times. Yeah, well, I'm going to shake that up too, because that's not the original spelling. I should have known. Or pronunciation. So this is going to be a lot of fun. And I hope all of our UK listeners will correct me on everything. I'm also going to apologize in advance because I'm going to talk in a really bad Irish accent. I cannot wait. Guys, I am excited for this. It's going to go from English to Scottish to freaking Russia. Bullshit. I'm going to be all over the place. All over the place. Transatlantic mostly. And I will do my best not to just imitate you and what you're doing. Because everyone will stop listening immediately. Oh, we're going to offend so many people. Which is funny because we've already offended some troll online. We have our first troll. I'm excited about that. We've had a couple. Oh, we had a couple? Yeah, we have one now. You just haven't told me about them? Yeah. No, you've seen most of them, I think. Maybe so. Just a couple, but... Your flashlight just turned on? My phone flashlight just turned on and it scared me. Flashlights and your phone flashlight turns on? Oh my God. I dropped my phone on my ankle, so that's what did it. But oh my God. You saw it illuminating my face underneath like a campfire story. I was confused, yeah. All right, let's stop wasting these good, fine folks, this fair folks time, and let's get into this. There's so much folklore to get into. Wow, I don't even know where to start. Let's start with the date the episode aired. Because that might be folklore in and of itself. We never know. It's the first of many, many confusing details and facts because IMDb says this aired on October 17th, 1992. The Are You Afraid of the Dark wiki says this aired on October 24th, 1992. So that's a week apart. And I don't know which one's right. Yeah, I'm dealing with the same thing because I'm doing notes for the following episode. Yeah. And it's doing the same thing to me. It's wild. I want to go back and check and see if our other dates are correct for all of our other episodes because we've said dates, but I think each time I try to disclaim with we don't know for sure. No idea. So the IMDb summary. Jake, an aspiring young actor, is in a play where, during rehearsals, strange things start happening to him when it's only a matter of time before opening night.
It's not even a grammatically correct sentence.
They rarely are.
It doesn't make any sense. But it makes more sense than mine because now I didn't write one.
Wow.
I don't even have a summary. I forgot to write one.
This
completely.
might be the first time.
I will just say for my summary, yeah, sure. Jake is definitely an aspiring actor. He's in a play. And he gets wrapped up in all this unexpected Irish folklore he never saw coming. And it's really confusing and none of it makes any sense.
Agreed.
So that's my best summary I've got.
It really makes me feel better to hear you say that because the whole time I watched it, I was like, wait a second, what?
You're like, I don't think any of this isn't right, is it?
It was barely following like its own logic.
No, the actual episode itself was incomplete. Like all the circles went like 3/4 the way around. Nothing completed.
Nothing completed. Sorry, DJ.
That's some Ouroboros with the tail just teasing that snakehead. Ooh. Just like, ooh, you wish you could get me.
You wish you could get me. You wish you could eat me, but you can't.
So this episode was written by DJ McHale, and it was directed by DJ McHale. I love the ones where he like wrote and directed, and he just like puts everything he's got into it.
Me too.
I feel like it shows.
And
like there's
he officially
production
said it,
value's
like,
a bit larger.
He put his name on it. It wasn't Chloe Brown this time.
Yeah, he wasn't hiding behind a strong female name. Good for him. So brave.
So brave.
So this is kind of fun because this is Eric's first story, and Eric's theme. Well, I'll say this. Eric only has 2 stories total.
Tragic, honestly.
This is his first one, and it's interesting because the next episode is also his. So you and I have been researching both of Eric's
stories at the same time.
Yeah, at the same time, which is really weird.
Very weird.
And I hate it. He doesn't come back in season 2. So the whole thing is that there's really no theme because he didn't tell enough stories to really like collect enough data.
Mm-hmm.
The fandom says his stories seem to be about incredibly powerful evil forces, ones that are never proven innocent or misunderstood.
Yes.
So,
do you know what else I kind of noticed?
What's
and
that?
This is a little bit of a spoiler for next time when we cover the dark music. But his stories also kind of have like a familial theme.
Ooh,
so
yeah.
the story, I'm sure you'll talk about it, but it's kind of inspired by his grandfather.
Yeah.
And the dark music, the whole story is inspired by the uncle of this family.
Interesting.
So it's kind of like
he's got strong family ties.
I guess.
That's it.
I guess
Okay.
He does.
No, I'll buy that for more than $1.
For 2 stories, I mean, for them both to involve that, I would say.
That makes a lot of sense to me. I'm
and
down.
Again, you're right. Like very dark forces that can't necessarily be explained.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Yeah. And this is also apparently the only episode where a protagonist's name is in the title.
You know what? Yeah, it is.
It's a little bit of a Are You Afraid of the Dark fun fact for you.
I don't mind it.
A little bit of trivia.
I'm okay with that. I'm not big on the protagonist name in the story title.
No, I don't like it. I like it to be.
It's kind of like songs. Like
else.
there are some songs that I like that have someone's name in the title.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, that just individualizes it too much for me. I need it to be generic and vague so that I can sing it about anybody.
Like Hey Jude, Cecilia.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Got it. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Cool. Well, I don't like saxophone and music that isn't jazz. So
we have
I think
already
we're
covered
pretty much
this
saying the same thing. I think we're pretty
definitely
much
not saying the same thing.
All right, let's move forward.
Okay. I was about to get on a soapbox about that again.
I know.
Because there have been like 10 songs this week that I've started to send you based on your hatred of the saxophone.
Oh my God.
Because I'm going to change your mind.
I would have hated every second of it.
Don't worry, guys. I'm going to change his mind.
I wouldn't have listened because I was listening to my Irish folk music.
That's right. Yeah, it's true.
All right, so I have a big old fat disclaimer up top.
Oh, another one. Okay.
Another one?
Well, you said your accents.
Listen, I have 7 disclaimers, all right? This is one wackadoodle hodgepodge of Irish folklore. It's a straight up cornucopia of Irish folk tales and legendary creatures that kind of makes no sense whatsoever when viewed through the lens of historical mythology. It's a real shepherd's pie, if you will.
Oh my God.
But DJ McHale must have wanted to pull from what I'm assuming is his own Irish heritage and just throw everything at it to see what all would stick, much like glitter onto the moist back of a toad.
Oh, that is some foreshadowing, folks.
Mm-hmm. Big shadows. And if you'll indulge me, one brief hypothetical.
Another one. Yes.
It seems to me, that was a
okay, disclaimer,
an analogy.
Then hypothetical.
This is a hypothetical.
Then analogy, then hypothetical.
Mm-hmm. You're just trying to trip me up, but I'm on
just
fire.
A little
you
bit.
Can't.
Can't touch this.
It's like DJ wrote down every bit of Irish folklore he could think of onto strips of paper shook it all up in a cocked hat, and plucked out 13 of them, saying, "No matter which ones I choose, I'm going to make them work, however I have to do it."
That is a really great way to look at it.
Does that sound fair?
Yeah, I would agree.
So this one starts very serious and somber. Probably the first one that does this.
Yes.
Gary says that Frank has given up his story to Eric, whose grandfather died that week.
Mm-hmm.
His pop was from Ireland, and he had a lot of great stories, which has to be where Eric's personal fascination with darkly magical stories comes from.
I do love that.
Yeah, I think that's very cool.
I do love that.
Honestly, why I wish we'd gotten to see like a ton more Eric stories.
Because it feels like he has like a deep, deep tie to it. He comes from a background of people that are storytellers.
Yeah, he could have pulled some supers, because he says his grandfather only tells stories about the evil ones.
Yeah.
He's like, he's our kind of guy, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, man, I think we
did miss out.
We're missing out on a lot.
On Eric's storytelling.
And that makes me wish also that like I'd known my grandparents better, just in general.
Man.
I didn't know either of my grandfathers, and they all kind of died when I was still too young. So I never got to hear any stories.
Yeah.
Is that part of your memory,
I mean,
your history?
Yeah, yes and no. Like I do wish that I had more of that.
Yeah.
Everybody says that I write like my granddad, my mom's dad, because he liked to write and read a lot. But we never really talked about it. Like I knew him. He passed away just pre-COVID, so like 2019.
Yeah.
And then my dad's dad had a stroke when I was 12 and wasn't able to talk anymore. But I bet he had some really good stories.
Man.
So I feel pretty bummed that I missed out on that.
Yeah.
But I do relate to the idea that storytelling's kind of in your heritage or whatever. Like I've said before, like I know I get my love of movies from my dad and my uncle. And so I kind of tie it into that.
Yeah. Huh. I'm going to talk about some fairy lore later that kind of reflects that sentiment of something of the arts of that sort being passed through a family lineage.
Carrying through.
So
interesting.
I'm pretty excited about that. That's cool. So Eric pulls out an old hat that couldn't look more Irish if it tried. It's a hat that his grandfather told him was blessed with the power of the pixies.
That wasn't bad. You did just as well as Eric.
Thank you.
At least.
This type of hat is called a cocked hat, and it's what you see on every leprechaun ever depicted.
Yes. With like the buckle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Triangular, pointy, it's green, and has that black band with the buckle.
Yep.
Right in the center. The term cocked hat has been used derogatorily to describe wild or crazy ideas, confusing, impulsive, or to make a distinction between good and bad or new and old. One might describe the final season of Game of Thrones as being pulled out of a cocked hat.
Nice.
Or hell, this episode. But you could also say, gee, mister, learning more about how science works sure knocks a lot of willful ignorance into a cocked hat.
A cocked hat, like worn to the side. Is that where this comes from?
Is that a phrase?
No, I mean just like if something's cocked to the side, it's like tilted, right?
No, I don't think so.
Tilted, off balance, off center.
I mean maybe, but I don't know.
I'm trying. Okay, I'm trying.
I didn't really dive
Fair enough.
into all the history of the cocked hat. My first thought was that I looked into it because my first thought was that it would be a hat with a feather in it. You know, from like a chicken.
Oh, I see. Okay.
A cock.
Sure.
But no, that's not it.
Okay.
No Yankee Doodle and his macaroni for me.
Oh.
So Kristen says, what's a pixie?
Well, they're what Papa used to call fairies. He said, lad, if they always acted fair, I'd call them fairies.
I loved it. I just loved it. So good.
I do love that as well. But there's a lot of confusion and strong belief in what a pixie is versus a fairy, if they're the same thing or not. So let's get into that.
Please.
Britannica's English folklore says the pixie is a tiny elf-like spirit or mischievous fairy dressed in green who dances in the moonlight to the music of frogs and crickets. Its favorite pastimes are leading travelers astray and frightening young maidens. Pixies also delight in rapping on walls, blowing out candles, and playing in water. Their prank of leading people astray gave rise to the terms pixeled and pixelated to describe a person who becomes lost on a familiar road. It was later extended to mean any state of bewilderment or confusion.
Interesting.
Pretty interesting.
They're always just kind of trying to tug you off course.
There's a lot of that. So
interesting.
Let's try to like name some of the threads that are woven through that are like constants. Because I'm going to get, I kept finding bits of research in this for this episode where they all had the same theme, the same intention, the same everything. So leading people astray is one of the first ones. Mm-hmm. And of course, fear. Fear is always involved. And like mischief. Mischief is very...
I feel like mischief is synonymous with the fairies that I knew of growing up, like the Disney version of a fairy, but less the fear. The fear, I think, was lost to time.
Oh, right. Yeah.
As our generation maybe prior.
It was always mischief and fear. I think the fear sort of, people worked the fear out of it.
Exactly.
And made them more fun, mischievous.
Yeah.
Whereas...
But this episode doesn't do that, obviously.
Fairies can fuck you up. Big time.
They absolutely can.
So,
and Hoggle knows this.
And Hoggle knows this. They bite.
Fairies bite, man.
Fairies bite. Some accounts say that a pixie is a type of fairy. Some say they're the same thing. Some say they're two completely different things entirely. So who's to say, really?
Not me.
My preferred lore is that they're more like cousins. Mm. They're two different lineages from a common ancestor. So the main differences that I know of are that fairies typically look just like humans, although they're usually impossibly small and have wings. Mm-hmm. Pixies, however, look nothing like humans. Their skin and hair can be any color on the spectrum. Their ears are pointed. They don't need clothes. They're non-binary, and they are smaller than the average fairy. Mm-hmm. But regardless of their differences, pixies and fairies are almost always grouped together in the same legendary creature category that also includes sprites, elves, goblins, gnomes, imps, dryads, nymphs, sylphs, selkies, djinn, and Eric's grandfather's favorite, leprechauns.
Yeah, there you go.
So what does Kiki want to know? Kiki wants to know, what's a leprechaun?
Thanks,
We're going
Kiki.
From, what's a pixie? Hey, what's a leprechaun? They're just setting him up perfectly for all of his dialogue that he has to deliver.
This is Exposition. Brought to you by the Midnight Society.
Wouldn't trade it for anything.
Well, they're kind of like little old men, and they make shoes. And they dress all in green, and they wear strange little hats like this one.
And while he's not wrong, that's accurate to mythology. That description leaves a whole lot to be desired. But there may be a good reason for this. And that's because the majority of leprechaun lore is entirely ignored in this episode.
Oh, good. Okay.
This nary crumb of leprechaun lore, lads and lasses, bitsies and imbis, nary crumb. You like that?
I did. I liked that a lot, actually.
So I have a book that I'm going to read some quotes from throughout this episode.
Yes.
I'm very excited. Do you see this?
Yeah, nope. Okay, yes. It says Ireland. I can read the word Ireland. Okay.
I can't tell where you are. There you are. Okay.
Legends, Charms, and Superstitions of Ireland by Lady Wilde.
Mm-hmm. So, any guesses who Lady Wilde is?
Should I know?
I mean, I didn't know until I, had this book.
Who?
The mother of Oscar Wilde.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I should have known.
So she's a writer and a folklorist in her own right. I had no idea.
Wow. Okay. No wonder. I
think I've actually heard that in a college course, once upon a time, but I never studied her, so I just forgot about it.
Sounds like a Jeopardy question to me.
Right, it does. And I have one of her books, and it's super cool. And I've honestly never even cracked it open. And this research for this episode gave me a reason to crack it open.
Hell yeah.
And I did not know how dope this book was.
Wow.
I mean, it's okay.
There's nothing like it for a writer, an author, a collector of books of any kind, for something to give them reason to go into a book they already have.
I know. The first edition of this book was published in 1887.
Damn.
If that tells you how old these stories are and how much closer to this folklore these stories are and these accounts are than we are or ever will be again, obviously.
Right.
But we have it written down. Here it is. So I'm going to read some stuff from it, and I'm very excited about it. I hope you guys think it's cool.
I think it's cool. You think it's cool too, right, listener?
I think it's cool.
We're going to pull a Dora the Explorer right now. Do you think it's cool? Good, me too.
That was so good. All right. So in this book, she says, they make shoes and wear all green clothes with cocked hats.
He's turning pages.
And on page 56, she writes, the leprechauns are merry, industrious, tricksy little sprites who do all the shoemaker's work and the tailors and the cobblers for the fairy gentry, and are often seen at sunset under the hedge singing and stitching. They know all the secrets of hidden treasure, and if they take a fancy to a person, will guide him to the spot in the fairy wrath where the pot of gold lies buried. So, pots of gold, hidden knowledge, making clothes and shoes and all the fun stuff.
I am impressed with your accent. I'll just go ahead and say
thank
it.
you.
I'll just tell you. That was good.
People who know better are like, oh, what shite is this?
Probably
but
so,
fair.
but we're here together and I can tell you that I enjoyed it. So
that's fair. Thank you. I got a lot more to go. She proceeds from there to tell a story about a beneficial leprechaun encounter that presents the friendly image of the leprechaun that is depicted in this episode specifically. So
we're in terms of like pop culture leprechaun. This is like a Lucky Charms sort of leprechaun.
This is a Lucky Charms leprechaun that is willing to share the wealth.
Got it.
But
magically delicious.
I'll tell you what's magically delicious. But on just the next page, however, she presents an exact opposite image of the leprechaun. That's more, don't cross me or I'm going to mess you up.
Yikes. That's more like the troll goblin sort of situation.
Exactly. It's also much more like an actual leprechaun.
Great.
Typically, they're not that willing to help you.
So, just not to throw you off course here.
Go ahead.
But just to question. In general, most of these things that we see as the fairy folk, these types of entities, most of them are mean to us. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just confirming. So, they're not nice in general.
No, they're not kind. They don't want to involve
pretty much all of them. Every one of them.
Almost all of them.
Dislike humans. Yeah. They're all bad guys.
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
It's rare and very specific when the fairies choose you to show favor on you.
Right.
And a minute ago I said it was a beneficial leprechaun encounter.
Yes.
That's because the person used the tricks he knew of, caught the leprechaun, forced him to give him his treasure.
Got it.
It was only beneficial because he didn't get messed up. Because he won.
Because he could have.
It's beneficial to the humans, not beneficial to the leprechaun.
Right.
So they don't like humans because we're greedy and awful and we take advantage of them.
They dislike humans for the same reasons that I dislike humans.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. Maybe we're fairies and we don't even know it.
Hey, people have been telling me that all my life.
I mean, you were small and sprightly.
That's what they say.
But the leprechauns can be bitterly malicious if they are offended, and one should be very cautious in dealing with them and always treat them with the great civility, or they will take revenge and never reveal the secret of the hidden gold. And then it goes into a really bad account where you don't want to get it wrong. You don't want to get it wrong. Many other accounts say that leprechauns are tricksters that really enjoy practical jokes at the expense of humans, who are always after their lucky charms and their knowledge of hidden gold. They love a good prank, and it really puts the con in leprechaun.
Leprechaun. Oh, I get it.
It's like if one called you like, bring, bring,
and I'd
bring,
pick up the phone and say, hello?
Yeah, I'm a leprechaun, lass.
How'd you get my number?
You want to find the hidden gold, don't you?
I mean, always.
You better put a finger in your nose and dig for it. Yeah, I'm a leprechaun. Gotcha, bitch.
Yeah, that's, yep. Checks out.
So yeah, they're pranksters. They're mischievous, leading people astray.
And see, the thing is, I don't mind mischief. I think that's fun, all well and good. But when it turns malicious, that's when I have a little bit of a problem.
Oh, their mischief is malicious.
Right.
It's like, here's a funny prank. You're going to slip down into this hole and you're sinking into the swamp and you're going to die if your husband doesn't come save you in the nick of time, even though it's a moonless night and it's about 3 a.m. and you're freezing to death and he can't find you because, they don't have flashlights back then. And if he doesn't get you, you're going to die.
Gotcha.
Like, you don't come after my gold or I'm going to mess you up.
Yeah.
That's a prank.
Much more, yeah. That's
a funny prank. Right there.
Their humor is just different.
But they love it because you know what? Can't touch this. Exactly. The word leprechaun comes from the word lepron, derived from the Irish word lethbron, meaning artisan of the brogue. A brogan is a type of shoe. Oh. Ergo, artist of the shoe, or shoemaker.
Well then.
You ever known anybody with that last name?
Yeah.
Me too.
I have.
So it's kind of funny if it's like, if they have shoemaker for a last name, and if they're clearly of Irish descent, their last name might as well be Leprechaun. Leprechaun.
That's kind of fun.
My name's Lethbron.
I hoped that you would go into the etymology of it because I have often wondered.
It's either Lethbron or Lethbrogan. I'm not sure if the G is hard or silent, but
okay. I mean, usually with Irish Okay, I'm just not even going to go there.
Yeah, you want to speak into that? Yeah, here you go.
I probably shouldn't, but I feel like usually with the G's are usually like omitted, right?
Sure, like a Owen, like a Browen.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking of. The name Owen, where it's like E-O-G-H-A-N.
It's not like Leprechaun. It's like Leprechaun.
Okay.
But in this episode, he says Leprechaun later.
Mm-hmm. He does, yes.
Aaron says Leprechaun or, Gort. But
Gort.
We'll get there. That's later.
Coming around the mountain.
To settle a bet for some of our listeners at home, if they're thinking this, the word brogue is also affiliated with the Irish accent, but that's something of a misnomer because that word brogue is derived from a different Irish word, berogue, which means accent or speech impediment.
Oh.
And that information comes from Merriam-Webster, but I've also read that this word means hug in Irish, which is super interesting. Because I have always had a speech impediment, so I'm doing your, this is medically interesting because I have ADHD, so I'm going to talk about this.
Oh, please do. I welcome this from other people because it makes me feel normal.
Right. This is interesting to me because Merriam-Webster also defines this word as literally meaning a wrestling hold or a tight grip. So it's like saying, this is a hold or a tight grip on your words, which is causing you to have a speech impediment.
Whoa.
Isn't language crazy cool?
I love it.
I love that.
I love it so much.
Yeah, super fun. I just found that interesting. I've always had a barogue on my tongue.
And now I'm thinking of like brig, like throw them in the brig.
That might be the same
not be
origin word.
But this is what my brain does.
Tell us if you guys know. You guys are smart.
Yeah, please do.
So now that Eric has insufficiently described leprechauns to everybody, Gary asks how his grandfather got the hat. Story goes, he got it from a trade with a pixie.
If a person offers a pixie a trade, they can't refuse no matter how bad a deal it is. All you have to do is say mine be yours
And yours be mine.
I wanted you to please explain what the hell they're talking about because I've never heard this. And that doesn't mean that it's not a thing in lore, but I've never heard that pixies can't refuse a trade.
You've never heard of this because it's not a real thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is completely made up.
It's a device. This is a plot device.
It's a plot device, and I respect a made-up plot device. That's fine.
Totally fine.
That's fair.
Totally fine. I just wanted to know, and now that I know, totally fine.
I have no problems with it. But I did research a whole bunch of like how to make trades with fairies or how that works, if it's even possible. In real life.
Well, we talked a lot about how fairy relationships are transactional in our Labyrinth series.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that made sense to me. But the fact that they can't refuse a trade, I feel like that's kind of goes against it because fairies are always trying to get the best trade.
They're transactional and they're finicky.
To limit them and say that if you offer them a trade, they can't refuse it, or pixies, I should say.
Right.
It's still like kind of defeats that con man type of undercutting that
Absolutely.
They tend to do in trades or bartering sort of situations.
Absolutely.
Am I thinking too hard about this?
No. I researched this for hours.
Okay.
Hours, I'm telling you. This is what I found out. I'm going to tell you what I found out. In real life, it's nearly impossible to bend a fairy to your will. You have to be extraordinarily brave, stupid, lucky, or cunning to get the best.
We're all for.
To get the best of any one of the fair folk. And usually, unless you're absolutely pure of heart or desperate and they decide to take pity on you, forcing a fairy to do anything comes with harrowing consequences.
Yes.
Even if you're successful. I tried to find literally anything at all about a specific way to make a deal with pixies or fairies. And if anything, it's just a common exchange. Nothing fancy about it. You leave something for them and they'll leave something for you. Much like befriending a crow, honestly.
Yeah, okay.
And some say you can befriend a fairy. But in all the articles and blogs I read, the one thread that wove itself through all of them is this. Fairies are persnickety and they can't be trusted. Don't do it.
Oh, yeah, I won't. Don't worry.
Just don't do it. Because any trade you make is on their terms every single time. And if you get one thing wrong and they take it as an insult, they're going to mess you up. Mm-hmm. Big time.
And also, like, the idea that language is very important, like the words that you say, they're going to find loopholes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. They find a way to always bend it in their favor.
Right.
And the simplest of things that you mean well, they could take offense. It could be an insult to them.
I don't want to deal with it. No, thank you.
You just never know. It's best to not even try. Just don't even try. Mm-mm. But there are full articles out there about what you can do to try to befriend fairies, but they come with plenty of warnings.
That's okay. I mean, I'm not saying like I don't want to be your friend. Like if you're a fairy, like I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like I'm not going to seek you out. That's all.
It's tricksy. But having said all that, most of us have already made fair trades with fair folk, whether we knew it or not. Can you guess what I'm thinking of? Pop culture.
Oh, like the Tooth Fairy?
Tooth Fairy. That's one of two I have.
Yeah, okay.
Tooth Fairy's one. The other one's not as obvious.
Yeah, I gathered that now. I really want to get it, though. My pride is coming into play.
Hey, every time you make me guess something, I get so sweaty. I get so flustered. I'm like, I have to look cool. I have to look smart.
Right? I want to get it right. Tooth Fairy's obvious.
Think of like when you leave something and you expect something in return.
I really want to get it.
And the things you leave for each other are just gifts.
Gifts like Christmas? I mean, Santa Claus?
Absolutely. Santa Claus is a fairy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's not a man, he's a fairy.
Fair enough. Fairy enough.
Hey-o.
Oh, I hate myself.
Right. Exactly. Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus.
What about the Easter Bunny? The Easter Bunny's not a fairy? Okay.
I mean, some people do leave carrots for the Easter Bunny, but my parents never did that.
Usually, right. Yeah. Okay. Usually you're not leaving something for the Easter Bunny.
I think some people do leave carrots, but it's not like a common. I don't know how common it is. I know that we didn't do it.
Yeah, no, me neither. Or maybe once or twice, but
yeah, this is a tooth in exchange for money and milk and cookies in exchange for gifts.
Presents. Okay.
Right. And there's also a lot of that, the origins of this lore obviously plays into trick-or-treating for Halloween.
Yes.
That I'm going to save and get into in October.
Oh, yeah. Oh, guys, just you wait.
Just you wait.
Trick or treat. It's right there.
Exactly.
In the name.
So now that we've got all of our leprechaun and pixie lore all sorted out, the rest of the episode should be pretty self-explanatory, right?
No.
Wrong.
Definitely not.
This is just the beginning of all the nonsense, and this isn't even the stuff that tripped me up.
Yeah, this was the stuff that was pretty straightforward.
That comes with Eric's story, which he says was one of his grandfather's favorites, and so he submits for the approval of the Midnight Society, the tale of Jake and the Leprechaun. We open on the rehearsal for a play. We have a scared peasant boy trying to escape from the fearsome goblin who is reprehended and distracted by the leprechaun.
Emo leprechaun.
Seamus Doyle.
Aye, Seamus Doyle! You stay out of this! I've come to take what's mine!
These two fae draw their swords to battle, where they break for the night, ending rehearsal.
Stand aside, boy! The battle's just begun!
And we learn a lot here all at once. This is pretty good exposition, all things considered. And there's a lot happening, so let's break down each moment here. Jake wants to be an actor, and he's landed a role in a play called The Will-o'-the-Wisp.
Which I love.
A magical play about leprechauns and goblins. I would break down goblins, but if you want to hear a lot about goblin lore, go listen to our Labyrinth series.
Yep, the goblins are there.
That's where they are.
There for the taking. If you want to know.
Down in
that's where they are.
The oubliettes. This fictional play is written, directed, and produced by the same guy who is playing the leprechaun Seamus Doyle. His name is Aaron.
Or so he says.
Or so he says. Aaron beckons the stage manager Lucy, calling out for his tea, which she tells Jake is an herbal tea made from his own recipe. It supposedly helps him be creative.
It must work. He's brilliant.
Okay. I mean, that's generous.
I didn't think the play was that good, but...
Yeah, that's generous.
Whatever.
It ends up being pretty damn good, but...
It ends up being pretty good.
Not because of his work.
Those people had the time of their life at that show.
Right?
So Jake messed up the rehearsal. So he's beaten down on himself pretty hard, and Lucy gives him the recipe for the tea. But before we get too far into this thing, let's check out the theater program for these actors' bios.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You liked that?
Yes, I do.
I saw you light up. So Jake is played by Benjamin Plenner, who's the brother of Noah Plenner, who was in The Tale of the Twisted Claw.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Benjamin voiced Hawkeye in Sailor Moon.
Oh.
And acted in episodes of Big Wolf on Campus, which I used to love.
I have never heard of that.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Oh, we have a lot to learn.
Please teach me.
Ooh. It was so fun. That was like to eat Hot Pockets and watch like after school
I really want
episodes of a show.
I want to look that up.
And he was also in Goosebumps.
Nice.
He returns in season 7 to play Justin in The Tale of Highway 13. And he also had additional crew credits for Sorcerer's Stone.
I don't believe it anymore.
It's fake.
IMDb. I don't believe it anymore. Fake news.
Fake news.
Maybe one of them did, but somehow it's been applied to like the entire cast of this show. And I just don't believe it anymore.
So Aaron, who plays the leprechaun in the play and runs this theater, he's played by John Dunhill. He seemed to have a pretty fun career. He was born in Glasgow in 1936.
Okay.
And one of his most notable credits is Tom Greenleaf in Secret Window.
Really?
Which I've told you is like one of my favorite movies, if not my favorite, because I watch it like 4 times a year. I can't help myself. It's incredible. He acted in a made-for-TV version of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow in 1999 that I really want to watch, as well as a made-for-TV The Hound of the Baskervilles in 2000.
I love that too.
Also want to watch.
Yeah, both of those legends are like up there on my list.
And the Neverending Story TV series and also the TV films based off of the Neverending Story. That super low budget, all that, just based off of the genius that was the Neverending Story.
Wow.
Lucy was played by Jennifer Segan. Sorry if I don't say that correctly. She was a prolific voice actor. She had characters in Country Mouse and City Mouse.
Aww.
She was in Mona the Vampire, Spookily the Square Pumpkin, which was that Jeff Zahn show.
Yeah. Okay.
He did the theme for Are You Afraid of the Dark, for those who don't know. And she voiced Millicent Crosswire in Arthur.
I should know that.
It's either Millicent Crosswire or like Mrs. Crosswire. It had 2 different names for different episodes.
Maybe a teacher.
But Jennifer comes back to play the tour guide in The Tale of Prisoners Past. And she also had an additional credit for Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then last but not least, Carl, the goblin character in this play, this fictional play, he's played by Frayne McCarthy. And he had no credits I really recognized. It was a bunch of TV films and TV series and short films.
Okay.
Let's turn another page of the program, and you might read a brief history on what a will-o'-the-wisp actually is.
Oh, yeah, I want to do that. Let's do that.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
I got teary-eyed writing these notes.
I freaking love a will-o'-the-wisp.
Yes, we're on the same page of the program. But this has been one of my favorite bits of like old Celtic lore.
Yes.
It goes back so far, and it's so beautiful and haunting.
Love it. Oh, this is our kind of lore.
It's so scary because this shit's real.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, it's real. It doesn't play into this episode at all, but I have to break it down. This may be our only chance to talk about it on this
Maybe.
podcast.
Yeah.
So,
Will-o'-the-wisp.
Will-o'-the-wisp, or Will of the Wisp, or Will-o'-wisp, or Ignis Fatuus in Latin, foolish fire.
Oh, I didn't know that one.
It's characterized as an atmospheric ghost light seen by travelers at night, especially over bogs, swamps, and marshes. It also goes by Friar's Lantern, Hinky Punk, Spunkies, which is what I call Sphinx. I call him Spunky. Sphinxy becomes Spinky, becomes Spunky.
Yeah, I call him Spink a lot.
Yeah, Spink is very common around these parts. It also goes by Hobby Lantern, Billy With-the-Wisp, Peggy Lantern, Joan the Wad, and many other names, including Jack-o'-lantern.
Oh my God.
It's said to mislead travelers by resembling a flickering lamp or lantern. In fiction, it's often used as a metaphor for an impossible goal that if you pursue, you are sure to die trying. In folklore, they are considered to be fairies, ghosts, or other types of dark spirits. Just as the folktale that inspired the Jack of the Lantern is based on a character named Jack, the origin of the Will-o'-the-Wisp folktale is based on a character named William.
That's shocking to me.
Did you know that?
I did not know that. I'm being genuine.
I'm about to learn you so much.
I'm being genuine because I always imagine it like Will-o'-the-Wisp, like the intention, the will of somebody or something.
I mean, I don't think that's off either. I think either one could be accurate and they just blended together.
Okay.
Like William. Okay, let's make a story based off of this thing.
Got it.
And William's will is pretty strong, as we'll find out. William the Blacksmith is a practical joker who lives such a wicked life that once he dies, he's turned away from the gates of heaven by St. Peter.
Ruh-roh.
He pleads with St. Peter for a second chance, insisting that he'll be a better person if only he could return to his life and have a fresh start.
Does he have a clock around his neck? No.
Yeah,
okay.
right.
Sorry.
He's granted the second chance, but he continues to live a life of such wickedness that neither heaven nor hell will take him.
Pray that hell or heaven lets you in.
So he's doomed to wander the cold earth for eternity, never finding rest, or peace, or warmth. But, as a means of cruel and ironic consolation, the devil himself gives William a single lump of burning coal to keep him warm and light his way. So, angry at both God and the devil, William gives himself up to his fate, embracing his trickster ways, and becomes something neither heaven nor hell had ever seen or would ever have expected. A single wisp of flame in the dark of night, promising false hope, safety, and rest to weary travelers, luring them from the safety of the shore road and into the dangers of muddy waters.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's heavy stuff.
Why you gotta be like that, Will?
Because he was a trickster. He lived this tricksy life, man.
And he's gonna live his
tricksy
tricksy days forever and ever. Amen.
It's very similar to the jack-o'-lantern lore that, again, we'll save for October.
It's coming, folks.
It's coming, y'all. In science, these will-o'-the-wisps are naturally occurring phenomena. It's phosphorescence. It's literally chemiluminescence caused by the oxidation of phosphine, diphosphane, and methane produced by organic decay.
Man, more chemistry.
Mm-hmm. I also read carbon dioxide and nitrogen. I don't know if any of these are the same thing, but...
Buzz thinks so. He's hollering.
Yeah. So there's dead and decaying matter in the water that releases these gases. And when they reach the surface, they combust, sending a flame up from the water and into the air.
That'll make you watch Brave, Pixar's Brave, a little bit differently.
Right, right. The whole...
Through a different lens.
The will-o'-the-wisp thing, seeing these little orbs of light on these trails, which it's depicted super friendly and helpful in that movie.
Yes.
But there's also a bunch of them, and they're on the land.
They are.
Which doesn't make any sense, really. But
there's like a video game too. As I was, the name of the play said Will-o'-the-Wisp, and I was like, oh my god! And there's a video game that I can't put my finger on. Maybe it was like a Harvest Moon game. Those were my absolute favorite growing up. I'm not sure what it was. I couldn't find it, but I remember a game that I played. It was the same kind of thing as Brave. They were very friendly.
Yeah.
They meant to help you. You followed the will-o'-the-wisp to find the way you were supposed to go.
Gotcha.
So it almost turns the entire, the actual lore on its head.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's so beautiful. It's super haunting and scary that something would try to lead you out to your own death from.
And I mean, it's kind of interesting because it's like a beacon of death.
Exactly.
In and of itself, like the chemistry of it. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I like to think of it as helpful.
It presents itself as this safety. It's like, hey, look at me. You can come to me because this is where you're supposed to be. It's a beacon, right?
The light in the darkness.
You're trusting something that can't be trusted. That's like mostly why it's so evil
Story
and so
of my life.
Heavy and dark. You can tell. I mean, obviously, it's based off of real scientific things that still happen. You can see it.
Right.
People have seen them.
But they had to create the lore around it.
They created the lore around it, but it's so true to life and it applies so directly to life. Because we often trust things that we shouldn't trust. And we put our faith in things we shouldn't put our faith in because either it's not there to help you, it couldn't care less about you, or it's actively trying to deceive you.
Yeah, neither of which are good options.
You're hoping it just doesn't care about you, Right. So your love of it, your respect for it comes from it being a helpful entity, not an evil one.
Well, no, I love the idea of it regardless of good or bad. I like haunting things. I like dark things. So it does not bother me that it isn't meant to be helpful, but in my growing up experience, right? I remember that video game and them being helpful things. Mm-hmm. And of course I was grown by the time I watched Brave, but they are really cute in that movie.
Again, something else that will just mess you up and not think twice about it.
And I mean, even going back to Fern Gully, those fairies really didn't interact with humans at all. That story doesn't really talk about fairies in the mischievous way, but it does definitely depict fairies and humans being at odds with each other.
Right. And I will say part of my research for this, just to get in the headspace of it, I listened to a different podcast that I discovered that I was going to send to you, Kalyn, but I didn't want to spoil the
Okay, I'll
recording.
listen to it now.
They're called Stories of Scotland, and they're two really funny ladies, and I've enjoyed listening to them so much.
Okay.
And they have an episode on the Will-o'-the-Wisp.
I'm down.
That I will now send you, and I'm linking to it. We have our sources, we have our further reading, and we're going to have our further listening. So that episode is linked there.
Heck yeah.
So a lot of fun. Maybe we can be their friend. I hope we can be their friend.
Please be our friend.
They seem like us because they just sort of talked through stuff and cracked up the whole time. So, however, aside from all this, further folklore lends a little bit more insight into our episode today. Many other legends allude to this phenomena as treasure lights, indicating a place where one might find buried or submerged treasure. This lore insists that you'd first need to consume the seeds of a specific type of fern, or you'd need to be in possession of a dead man's hand, which is often affiliated with good fortune or good luck. And it's a little bit more severed hand folklore.
Oh my God.
We talked about in Haunted Train.
Yeah, we did a little bit.
The dead man's hand is very, or the hand of glory is very popular.
Would you like me to share something semi-related with you right now?
Absolutely. Please hit me with that. Yeah.
So I work in a corporate office, for anyone who doesn't know.
You do?
And pretty recently, as I got to my desk on a Monday, Tuesday, whenever I was getting to work, and I was putting my things down, and I turned around to sit down at my desk, and when I sat down, my foot hit something, and I looked down, and I didn't scream, but I did jump back because there was a severed hand under my desk.
What?
It was just simply the strangest thing. Like, there's just no universe in which I thought on that morning, as I'm like dreading whatever meeting I'm about to go into or whatever, I was going to sit down and find a severed hand under my desk.
This is like a Spirit of Halloween.
But yeah, pretty much. That's.
It's not a real severed hand.
It was not a real hand, ladies and gentlemen.
I was waiting for you to make that distinction, and you just sort of brushed it off like. So anyway, that was a weird morning.
Because I hope that no one would assume. If there was an actual severed hand.
If you don't clarify, they're gonna. You say severed hand, I'm gonna go. Okay. Whose hand was it?
There was a rubber faux Halloween decoration hand that someone had found, fit to put under my desk.
That's perfect. No, I like that person, whoever it was.
It definitely startled me. Well, I held up the hand to my coworker who was sitting across from me. I didn't, say anything. I just held the hand up, and she said, "I'll give you one guess." And I guessed the guy that sits behind me that works in accounting, and perfect. I was correct. So perfect. I instantly, this is before I've even turned on my computer for the day, I picked it up and I took it back to his office, and he wasn't in his office, so I placed it under his desk where it belongs. Yeah.
Amazing.
Pretty good.
Wow.
I work in a corporate office, but sometimes it can be fun.
Also, I love the anecdote. I thought that you were going to hit me with some research or some lore or something.
I got nothing academic for you this time. I did all my academics last time.
That's the kind of thing I wish would happen to me, but that's also the kind of thing Luke would do to me.
Yeah, if you were still working around coworkers, absolutely.
Yeah, Luke, me and him, we kind of used to prank each other a little bit at work. Coming across all this buried treasure, submerged treasure, it's all important because that's the actual lore of leprechauns, is that they have this secret knowledge of buried treasure and
right.
There are no rainbows, there's no pots of gold. I mean, there are pots of gold, but they're buried in the earth, right? They're not at the end of the rainbow.
Like a treasure chest.
Sure.
X marks the spot sort of thing.
They're cauldrons because witches use cauldrons.
Right. You're connecting the dots.
Yeah. But while there is scientific explanation of these swamp gases, it's merely speculation. Many accounts of the will-o'-the-wisp tell of flames that not only remain lit, but also move around in the dark. Some say they don't emit any heat whatsoever. Other stories say these lights are carried in a lantern by a cloaked figure, too dark to see. But we'll take a closer look at that dark figure and those lanterns in October.
Wow, what a tease.
I'm a big old tease.
He's really proud of himself, you guys. He's smiling.
I'm a tease. Well, we veered way off course, so let's get back to the episode.
Shall.
Not my fault. Totally my fault.
Maybe a little bit also my fault.
I made this. I wrote the script.
I made this.
Now, Aaron is sipping his tea, and Lucy has just given the tea recipe to Jake. This is where we are in the story. We're still there right at the beginning, the first 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. Aaron calls out to Jake and has this theatrical spiritual moment where he has Jake close his eyes and feel the magic
of the stage, the power of the theater. Let it transport you into another realm and make you into a magician.
I support this. You know how I feel about live theater.
Spoiler, This is so that Aaron has something to reference when Jake starts to go through very real changes that are inexplicable. He can, and he does, fall back on this phenomenon of the theater magic and uses it to convince Jake that he's making magic happen, that he has magic in him.
Puberty.
Ooh, Jake, ooh, you're so full of magic. Let me get some of that magic you've got going on there inside of you.
Then it's time to change. You know, Brady Bunch? No? Okay.
Yeah, well, let's move on from this awkward.
No, the Brady Bunch thing definitely applies. That's a reference. Hey, guys, if you're listening, tell Christian.
This magic moment.
Those magic changes. We could go all day.
Which, for the purpose of this story, Jake does have magic in him.
He does.
And this magic, apparently, is called the glamour, which we first hear about at the very top of the next scene, where we're going to go now.
Perfect. It's where I hoped we'd go.
Transition.
Next.
Jake arrives at the nursery or greenhouse of some kind where a man is attending to the plants and talking to them, displaying an Irish accent.
Take a good long drink, sugar, so you stay pretty and fresh.
He looks tall at first, but when Jake approaches, we see that he's on a platform and he's actually quite short. He talks in a strange roundabout way, not quite riddles really, but like oddly poetic and whimsical.
I liked it.
I like it too. It's like, it has this otherworldly quality that's always applied to like magical folk, like fae, witches, wizards. Like they always talk in this very
rhyme.
It's almost like they're speaking in magical spells all the time.
Love it.
I don't know.
Incantations are their vocabulary.
Exactly. This man is Sean O'Shaney.
Sean O'Shaney's the name. Remember it. You might be needing me.
Sean is played by David Steinberg, who famously played Meegosh in Willow.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
I knew that.
He's also in an episode of Charmed.
Charmed is great.
And SpongeBob SquarePants. Spoiler, Sean isn't just an Irishman gifted with the sight.
No.
He's a leprechaun. A real-life leprechaun.
He is so much more.
This is why he can immediately tell that Jake has the glamour.
What do you mean, I have the glamour?
Nothing at all, just a feeling.
Helpful.
So you might ask yourself, the glamour, does this have anything to do with The Shining?
Okay.
All signs point to yes. Let's postulate here. Let's postulate
Please.
That Stephen King was inspired by the archaic Scottish word glamour, meaning either enchantment or magic, which is the origin of our use of the words glamour and glamorous today.
Yes.
Whereas Stephen King's concept of the shine is the presence of a psychic ability in a human, DJ's concept of the glamour is the presence of magic in a human.
I'll take it. I'll run with it all day long.
I think it's pretty cool.
I'm into it.
And I also love how much of this podcast references Stephen King and The Shining over and over and over again.
A lot. Someone count for us. Count the waves.
Let's also postulate here that this concept of a human possessing the power of magic was directly inspired by Labyrinth.
Hey.
The babe with the power.
What power?
AKA, oh God, the power of the babe, AKA possessing the right kind of magic that would allow the Goblin King to turn that baby into a goblin.
Hey, you got that right kind of magic.
Slap that baby. Jareth wouldn't just steal any neglected or unwanted child, only those with the power of voodoo.
Sure.
This is exactly what Aaron is doing, using Jake as a means to an end by casting him in a play, even though he's not a good actor. All because Jake has the glamour.
He wants to get close.
Something he's born with. He can't help it. It's just in his blood. And Aaron can see that. And he wants it. He wants that boy's glamour.
Yikes. Big old yikes.
So Jake is just there to see Sean for this herbal tea recipe. And Sean reads it off. So this is what's in the recipe.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Bluebells, foxgloves, and ragweed.
Achoo.
How dare you bring this here?
Sean gets pissed and kicks him out, saying,
A pox upon you for asking.
I had that written down too. I was going to say it if you didn't.
It was pretty good.
A pox upon you.
I want to say that from now on.
Me too.
Somebody cuts
say it
me
all
off
the
in the
time.
grocery store. A pox upon you.
But then in this day and age, you know, the pox really might come upon them. So you got to watch out.
It's funny you say that because he doesn't mean a viral disease here, but a curse or a hex.
But isn't that why smallpox all of the poxes.
Yeah.
Because it's a curse.
At the time, again, history, science, and folklore,
Yeah.
when people would get sick
All mingle.
and they didn't know what it was,
Mhm.
they'd say, oh, he has a pox. He has a hex. He has a curse.
Yes.
That's exactly where it comes from. You're right.
Heck yeah.
You win this round of Jeopardy. Good job.
I live for that.
I know. This gives us the idea that the special kind of herbal tea that Aaron drinks might not be exactly what Jake was expecting. And as we come to find out later, neither is Aaron.
Dun dun dun.
Foxglove has a long association with witchcraft, magic, and fairies. In Ireland, foxgloves were used to thwart an evil eye and break hexes or poxes. They symbolize insincerity, pride, intuition, creativity, and energy. In Europe, the plant was commonly referred to as fairies' gloves or fairies' thimbles.
You don't say.
Fairies were said to dwell nearby these flowers, so many assume foxglove was derived from folksglove for the fair folk.
Ah.
Incredibly poisonous to humans, so stories were told to children that picking foxglove flowers would offend the fairies, which would keep them away from these poisonous plants.
Smart.
Smart move.
It's what lore does. I mean, it's
Honestly.
the fable, the Aesop. It's meant to keep you safe.
Mm-hmm. A lot of it just keeps you alive. And this is a super obscure thing, but I think about this all the time. Do you know the shot in Prisoner of Azkaban when the Dementors are closing in on the castle and you see the flower ice over and freeze and shrivel?
Yes.
That's foxglove.
Oh, okay.
So it had more than just, here's a flower in the Scottish countryside. It's actually to do with magic and fairies and witches.
There's a reason for it.
Right. It's all connected.
Interesting.
So that was a very intelligent choice.
Yeah.
To wilt the foxglove flower.
The foxglove. It meant the magic was dying. The magic was being overtaken.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Props to you.
Bluebells are considered a favorite flower of the fairies, although most folk tales regarding bluebells involved dark fairy magic.
Well, down here in the South, we just know it as an ice cream.
It's just an ice cream. You hear that bluebell ring? That means cows are coming home. And let's sit around and have a nice box of ice cream, everybody.
That's
Let's
right.
eat that shit.
Sorry. I interrupted you.
But don't tell the GOP or they'll stop eating bluebell ice cream.
Ruh-roh.
It has connections to fairy lore and fairy tales and witchcraft.
Well, tell us. We'll just keep it our little secret here. That's pretty dark.
This dark fairy magic has a lot to do with bluebell woods being enchanted by fairies to entrap humans. Hearing the ring of a bluebell, like it's literally like a bell.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ring-a-ding-ding. Hearing the bluebell ring was an omen that you'd be visited by a dark fairy and will die not long after. This is closely related to other lore that we're going to get into in this episode a little bit later on. So very interesting choice to involve bluebells here.
I just want to eat my ice cream.
I just want to eat the ice cream.
I don't want to die or anything.
Ooh, what if there was like actual legitimate bluebell flavored like bluebell ice cream and it tasted like the flower and it was poisonous and it killed you?
Right.
Bluebell.
We don't want to poison anybody.
Well, no.
But what if?
Exactly. See, now you're getting the hang of it. I live in a world of make-believe. Also, to pick a bluebell was to greatly offend the fairies, and you'd be led astray to wander forever, lost for all time.
Well, I don't want to do that.
Mm-mm.
I will make sure to look up what they look like and avoid them at all costs.
Ragweed.
Achoo.
It's an invasive species. It's a weed. It's an allergen. Achoo. And Native Americans would chew their roots because they believed that they helped ease fears at night.
Oh.
So nightmares.
Interesting.
But it's native to North America, meaning no ancient pixies would be accustomed to consuming it in a tea. It's considered a cousin of goldenrod, however, which symbolizes good luck, adaptability, and prosperity.
I just went back to like the original Pokemon games.
Yeah, goldenrod.
Yeah, there's a place.
Yeah.
Goldenrod.
Goldenrod does grow in Europe. So it's possible this was just like a weird mix em up or like DJ like intentionally applying it to the new world.
Right.
Here,
he was
using ragweed.
transplanting it for children in North America in the 90s.
So it's either that or ragweed here might also be ragwort, which I've read has colloquially gone by ragweed in Sussex and other parts of the UK.
Okay.
And so all I could read online about ragwort is that picking it was considered an offense to the fairies.
Really, they just don't like it when you pick their flowers.
its leaves also yield a good green dye, which is, leprechauns, I guess.
Which is, leprechauns.
Leprechauns. So yeah, Sean hears all this stuff, knows exactly what these things are, gets super pissed that he'd even ask for them. Also because some of them are,
sure,
you can't get that in a nursery.
What do you think I'm doing here?
If he drank it, it'd kill him. So anyway, so Sean kicks Jake out, and then we see into some wretched creature's dwelling place. And it's all spooky, voodoo, hoodoo, you-do, with something like a shrine to Jake.
Mm-hmm. An altar.
Exactly, an altar. His photo is there on the wall, and his hat is there. Apparently,
very spooky.
Stole his hat.
Probably the spookiest part of this episode.
It really is. There are bottles of mysterious things, and there's a bowl with a toad in it. Mm-hmm. Just chilling in a little puddle of water. Little toad.
Little toad.
This creature that we can't see is lighting candles and mumbling some kind of incantation.
Take his soul and grind it whole and eat it with the fish. The boy be mine for all of time. This is what I wish.
Ew.
Yeah. Ew is right. Ew. Jake's character, the peasant boy, in a quick little will-o-the-wisp scene breakdown that we see the scene a few times from this point forward.
Yes.
Jake's character, the peasant boy,
here we go,
insists that Aaron's character, the leprechaun, change him into a leprechaun himself so that he'll be safe from the goblin. The leprechaun says,
"You'll never be a boy again."
I don't care.
Then dance with me. And speak as I speak.
And he enchants the boy by walking him through a magic spell where he has to repeat the same words and drink of the same potion from this Boda bag. Which, do you know what a Boda bag is that he has there he's holding?
No.
They are wineskins.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, which, I've always heard the term wineskin from Bible class.
Yeah.
And I learned today kind of what it was. Not today, but, this week.
Nice.
I was pretty pleased. So that's kind of confusing. To escape the goblin, he wants to be turned into a leprechaun so that he can be safe. But he can't be a boy anymore, and it's this whole weird magical thing.
I'll be honest. This is where it started to lose me.
This is when it begins to unravel a whole lot.
Is this the incantation in which he mentions fairy rings?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is the spell. This is the incantation, right?
Okay.
He says, "The fairy ring does dance and sing, the mortal gloom a dying thing. Now turn me into spirit bright and leave behind the human plight." It took me a lot to get those words exactly right, because he says them one way, and then Jake says them a different way entirely, and the captions I could pull up on YouTube didn't work.
Yeah.
So they don't make any sense.
The same.
So fairy rings are another naturally occurring phenomena that involves a circle of either mushrooms, flowers, or dead grass, or whatever. Really anything that sets a circle or a ring-shaped patch apart from the rest of the earth around it.
Yes.
These patches are held in high regard as fairy rings, or places that were carved into the earth by a ring of dancing fairies, pixies, elves, or even witches, making them places of great mystery, magic, and superstition. And I can tell you right now, the only way you'd catch me disturbing a fairy ring would be if the fairies themselves threatened me with a good time.
Have you ever found a fairy ring before?
No, I've wanted to. Have you?
I have.
Oh, yeah? Tell me about it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have a great story for when I found the fairy ring, but I do remember finding one as a kid and being very excited because, so here is where this episode began to derail in my mind. It just kind of starts to get a little bit hazy. And he mentioned fairy rings. And I, in my little 90s baby brain, I was like, I've seen a movie where a little girl kneels in a fairy ring to make a wish. And I was just consumed with trying to figure out what that movie was. Does it ring a bell for you?
No, I don't think so.
There's a little girl, it's a live action movie. This is what was in my head when I heard him say fairy ring. I haven't thought about fairy rings in 25 years. Or, maybe a little less. But I was thinking of fairy rings and I couldn't think of it. I texted my sister. Me and my sister, half of our messages to each other are like, do you remember this really random obscure thing that we watched when we were little? Then it hit me. The Summer of the Monkeys.
What is that?
There are people listening right now that are freaking out that I just said that because I personally myself haven't thought about this movie in forever. This is a Disney movie from 1998 in which these monkeys escape from a sideshow, like a circus kind of thing, I guess.
Oh, good for them.
And this little boy and his sister, basically he ends up wanting to have a ransom for the monkeys to then make money because he needs to make money for some selfish thing. But his sister is crippled. And in the movie, she finds a fairy ring. And it's like a super sad movie. Like when I texted my sister when I finally figured it out, I was like, The Summer of the Monkeys. And she was like, I have no idea what that is, except that I remember crying about it.
You and your sad movies.
I know. But I watched that movie so many times. But that was my exposure to fairy rings. So when I saw one in life, when I'm, 8, 9 years old, I wanted to get in the fairy ring and make a wish. I don't remember if the wish came true. Pretty much.
But you weren't messed up by some fairies, though.
But I was not messed up by any fairies that I know of, except
they must have taken pity on you because you were so sincere.
I mean, the whole rest of my life was kind of messed up. So
maybe they cursed you.
Just to say,
maybe you.
There may be a pox upon me.
Maybe you had a pox upon you.
Yeah.
Wow.
But did you find in the lore that you can make a wish in a fairy ring? That's what I wanted to ask you.
You're not supposed to enter fairy. You're not supposed to mess with them. Leave them alone.
It's so funny because my understanding of fairy rings came from that singular movie.
No,
and that movie said, go in the fairy ring and make a wish.
Steer clear. They get pissed.
Man.
That's why I think maybe you were cursed.
It's no wonder, really.
So one thing I found really, really fascinating, both May Day, a.k.a. the Celtic Beltane, I think that's how you say it, and Halloween night, Samhain, are considered especially dangerous periods of time to enter a fairy ring, more than any other day. And I'm just obsessed with how often May Day and, of course, Halloween keep coming up in all of my research. Like in the Mischief Night episode, we found out Mischief Night actually, its original ties have to do with May Day.
Yes.
And then we just discussed liminal spaces in the Haunted Train episode.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a big deal about May Day and Halloween night specifically. And now we have fairy rings, considered especially dangerous on these holidays. So a lot of importance put on these days of the year. So that's fairy rings. And also in this incantation, he says...
that's fairy rings and also Summer of the Monkeys.
Summer of the Monkeys. He says, turn me into spirit bright. This is where the name of the play comes from. The Will-o'-the-Wisp. That's the bright spirit he's asking to be turned into.
But turn me into spirit bright. That means he dies.
Well, yeah.
Right? A will-o'-the-wisp is a dead thing.
In the play, the dialogue that we see in the play, he says the words,
Please, make me a leprechaun. The goblin can come back any minute.
And so the leprechaun in the play walks him through a magic spell that turns him into a will-o'-the-wisp, not a leprechaun.
Right.
Is the leprechaun in the play evil? Is he turning him into this thing that is dead, essentially?
That's kind of where I went. I don't know if that's true. Like,
it doesn't make sense.
I don't know.
Or is that when the leprechaun isn't in human form, it's in pixie will-o'-the-wisp form, and it can turn into a humanoid leprechaun thing?
That's a lot. That's a leap.
So I think the leprechaun is evil and he's tricking him, and I think that's because ultimately we find out that Aaron is evil and he's tricking him.
Right.
And he wrote a really terrible play because he can't see past his own selfish intention. Is it for his own selfish gain?
That I will buy into.
It's just really confusing because none of this makes sense. Nothing's cohesive. Like you go to put all the puzzle pieces together and none of them fit.
They don't fit.
None of them. So it's wild.
Man,
it's a wild
I'm so
time.
glad to hear you say that because I was worried about my own perception there for a minute.
It made this research really difficult.
I bet it did.
It's why I'm going into every single facet and breaking it down in reality of what it actually is. So I'm glad we're on the same page and you're not like, no, I think it works fine. No. You're being a little bit dramatic.
No, and I think, the audience for Are You Afraid of the Dark is younger kids, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was the same as a lot of episodes that we've seen where DJ's just kind of like, let's throw some things that are familiar enough.
He's having fun with it.
Let's throw it into the mix and just let it be, which is great and fine. And I do think it's cool because it's giving us an opportunity to go into some lore that we might not have explored on this show necessarily.
Sure. No.
But like you said, yeah, it's not cohesive.
It's a fictional play inside of a fictional story, inside of a fictional TV show.
Yes.
That we're talking about on a podcast
to be honest,
30 years later.
You're right. I personally, in TV and film, I like when we get a story within a story.
Mhm.
I like when they have a play on the show. I like when I enjoy that.
I like it
so
too.
I was excited about that in this episode.
Mhm.
And it played out in a very interesting way, I will say.
It makes it difficult to be clear and to like talk about though.
It does,
Because like
for sure.
Jake, the boy, and then
Listener-
Aaron, the leprechaun, but not the leprechaun because that's Sean. It's like,
Listener,
oh my God.
If you're confused by this, number one, we are so sorry.
Oh man.
Number two, go and find this episode, Jake and the Leprechaun, and then come back and we will just be here together in our confusion.
Yeah, you'll see what we're talking about. But it's still fun. It's just fun. Yeah, so he's saying this, he's repeating the spell, and he drinks from the Boda bag, which I also have to say, if this were a real stage production, there'd be no liquid in that bag and he wouldn't be drinking anything.
Definitely not.
Absolutely not. But while he's doing this in rehearsal, his voice changes halfway through. And it scares him so much that he breaks character and ruins the rehearsal once again.
When it's time to change.
So this, this is the moment where Aaron claims Jake is experiencing the stuff of genius, conjuring some kind of theater magic. This is what it means to be a great actor, right? Which is dark in its own way, because this is the same kind of feedback loop that gets a lot of method actors into trouble.
True. We've talked about this before. Absolutely.
Not to mention so many aspiring young actors desperate to make it in this industry. Let me help you out. Let me show you the way.
Let me help you.
Let me help you make it here.
Man.
You're so talented.
I just watched Elvis. Have you seen it yet?
Oh, yeah. No, I haven't seen it yet.
Similar
Looks good.
plot line as to every, ingenue that comes in onto the music scene or film or whatever.
Yeah.
There's always somebody predatory that's looking to make it their own. You got the glamour, kid.
He says,
When you're making magic up here, it's like you've got the glamour. You have the gift, boy. Use it.
now, Jake goes back to see Sean once again, and he explains what happened at the last rehearsal. Sean realizes that this kid is a victim, and he takes him under his wing and explains to him what's going on as best he can at the time.
Thankfully.
Right, somebody's got to help this kid. He says herbs can have a lot of power if you know how to use them and if you know how to get them. He got his herbs in a trade with a Spriggan, which is mispronounced.
Oh, no.
A Spriggan comes from the Cornish word for spirit or sprite, and it's a legendary creature of Cornish folklore that dwells among ruins and burial sites, guarding buried treasure.
Oh.
Yeah.
I feel like I've said that several times in a very exclamatory way.
Oh.
You don't say.
Everything
I'm
keeps
being genuine, guys.
We're guarding buried treasure.
Sure. Yeah, you're connecting more dots than I expected to be connected in this explanation. So props to you.
Thank you.
And I appreciate it because as I was watching it, I really wanted it to be, I wanted these things to happen.
I was really pleased to discover all of this stuff when I was researching. I was like, oh, shit.
Once again,
Buried
when
treasure.
you really dig
Leprechauns.
in, DJ had it going on.
All this folklore, he knew this or he researched it to the nth degree.
Because you have to know it to use it, basically.
It's very impressive. It's honestly very impressive.
Absolutely.
Spriggans were said to be grotesque in appearance, with unpleasant dispositions, and enjoyed hearty amounts of mischief. But usually only against those who offend them.
So it's me.
Sound familiar? Yeah, so it's you, basically. Right.
Spite.
They would torment travelers, probably travelers in search of hidden treasure, blight crops, and sometimes steal mortal children, replacing them with changelings.
Oh, here we go. This is lore that we find
Another
often.
deep connection. Right. But anyway, that's just a breakdown on Spriggans. So Sean struck a deal with the Spriggan. How he made this trade was he gave it the old yours be mine and mine be yours, which if we're paying attention close enough, this is the opposite to what Eric said earlier. Mine be yours and yours be mine.
Ooh, good point.
Sean says it backwards.
Yeah. Buzz is talking to you about that. He's trying to make a trade. He says, give me my mom back. Oh.
What's he giving me in return?
I don't know, just being a cute cat.
I'll take it. He's so sweet. Sean, now, he comes to their final rehearsal to get a look at the suspicious play for himself. When he sees Aaron, he makes the exclamation,
Saints and stars!
Do you know what SIDS and stars are?
No.
I didn't either. I just looked it up. It's so
I didn't
random.
know that was what he said. I don't know what I thought he said. I thought he said saints and stars.
It's possible he said.
Which made a little more sense, I guess.
It's possible he said saints and stars. Maybe. But I looked up SIDS and stars.
Okay.
These are the acronyms for Standard Instrument Departure Routes, SIDS, and Standard Arrival Routes, stars. These are airplane routes through the sky.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Isn't that wild?
I did not expect that. Cheers to you. Because that's something else.
It's pretty crazy.
SIDS and stars.
And the only connection I can think of besides DJ just being like SIDS and stars, that'd be really funny to put in as an exclamation.
Like he's heard it sitting in an airport at,
Right. He just reads the word SIDS and stars.
Weird.
It's either that or he was like, that kind of works because of the fairy connection to spirits of the air.
I don't know. I guess so.
I don't know. So Sean sabotages their rehearsal, trying to keep Jake from drinking the potion and completing the spell. Although it fails, he still drinks the potion and completes the spell. But Sean unties the rope and sends a stage tree falling to the floor.
Yeah.
There's mayhem. People are running around everywhere. And Sean pulls Jake aside and makes him look in the mirror. His ears are now pointy.
If you are anything like me, you are now transported to the Disney Channel original movie, The Luck of the Irish.
I've seen that.
Oh, you've seen that
I've seen it. I've actually seen this one. Yeah. Wow.
Guys, this is a monumentous occasion. Christian has seen a Disney Channel original movie. There's a decom that Christian has seen.
I've seen it.
Alert the media.
Luck of the Irish.
I love that movie. I watch it.
I used to love
pretty
that
much.
movie.
I still watch it pretty much every St. Patrick's Day. Me and my sister.
We watched it in school randomly.
That's great.
Yeah.
We were in love with what's his name?
Sure.
Ryan Merriman that plays Kyle.
Yeah. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I got it.
Basketball star.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the
I
basketball.
don't even like basketball.
I mean, we thought it was cool because me and my friends
played basketball. I know,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Luck of the Irish was big time. And I mean, there are a lot of things that carry through, like lore wise, that are similar. And I kept thinking of Luck of the Irish and Riley O'Reilly.
O'Reilly, I know.
The potato chip factory.
My God.
Kind of cruel, honestly.
I forgot about that
the Irish
movie.
potato famine. And they're going to put a potato chip factory in this.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
So now, having seen all of this for himself, Sean explains that every time Jake takes the oath in the play, he's one step closer to becoming a changeling.
Right.
So now we're going to throw one more layer of Irish lore or fairy lore at this episode.
Yes. We're going to say the word changeling.
This is not how the changeling folklore works.
No.
But it's happening anyway. You don't become a changeling.
No.
You're replaced with a changeling.
With a changeling.
Right.
There's no transformation.
No transformation.
The changeling, it's an imposter.
Yeah. Lots of dark history. Lots of people were killed after being accused of being changelings. Just like witches.
Yeah.
And that ties into our whole babies aren't turned into goblins thing from Labyrinth.
Right. Okay.
Like you don't become fae.
Right.
Humans don't become fae.
Not really, no.
Except for Santa Claus, old Saint Nick. He became a fairy.
He might be the exception.
Whatever. I don't know. I don't know how it works. I'm a human.
I'm a human, raised by humans.
I'm not a human fairy thing. I'm a human idiot. That's what I am.
I'm an American idiot.
I don't want to be an American idiot.
Right.
So now we get another fun example of sneaking into someone's home to find proof that they are in fact a monster. Nightly Neighbors, anybody?
Yeah.
This never gets old. I love it every time.
It's too much peril for me because I don't like the idea that they could come back at any time and find you.
It's so effective. I know.
And you know what else is very similar to the Nightly Neighbors episode about this moment?
What?
They hide away from him under his bed.
Easily seen.
Where they're easily seen, but also the bed is so tall when you're looking at the feet of what's his name?
Aaron Gort?
Yeah, Aaron Gort. When you're looking at Aaron's feet, it's like Sean could be standing up underneath the bed almost.
Yeah. It says more about his height, I think, than
No.
the bed.
It says more about the bed, I promise.
Yeah. I don't know. So now inside, they see this altar, this shrine to Jake. And now we know that the creepy-ass creature from before was Aaron.
Yeah.
And Sean knows exactly what he's looking at.
Yep.
It confirms all of his suspicions. And he tells Jake that the toad is a changeling.
Yeah.
And he starts looking for this specific herb. And he reads off a few before finding it. He reads, ragwort, thyme, foxglove, cowslip, and finally he finds it, rowan root.
Mm-hmm.
Let's break down 3 more of these plants.
I want to hear all about it.
So thyme symbolizes courage, strength, and fortitude. In England, the souls of murdered dead were thought to live in the flowers of thyme.
Whoa.
And it is planted on graves, especially in Wales.
Wow, that's crazy cool.
I've also read that one way to stun the fairies dancing widdershins around a fairy ring would be to throw a sprig of thyme into the center of the ring.
Okay. So yeah, this is not something that Summer of the Monkeys taught me.
Cowslip has a long association with fairies, adventure, mischief, and hidden treasure. Just as the foxgloves have been called fairy gloves, cowslips have been called fairy cups.
Oh.
It's because of the way they're shaped, like little cups. You can drink out of them.
I was going to say, that's it. You drink out of it.
Little slurp, slurp.
Man, now I'm having Willy Wonka flashbacks.
Yeah.
You know,
ooh.
when he in the room of candy, when he breaks it off of the bush or the tree and sips. I've always wanted to drink what he's drinking. And then he bites into the cup.
Me too.
Oh my God.
Cowslip has strong ties to English folk traditions in regard to the coming of spring, so it's traditionally used in garlands and wreaths made for May Day celebrations.
No way.
Yeah, way. And then last on this list, the one thing that Sean is searching for, rowan root. This is the root of the rowan tree, which I'd never heard of.
I have not either.
The rowan tree has a long-standing sacred Celtic history. It is considered the tree of life, and it symbolizes courage, wisdom, and protection. And apparently, it's a first order of business to plant a rowan tree when you purchase land or build a new home.
I blew that one. I didn't do that.
Me neither. I tried to plant a fig tree, but it hasn't grown in the 4 years it's been in my
Your
yard.
face, you look so sad.
I am sad. I wanted figs to give the neighbors in baskets. I wanted to make homemade fig Newtons.
That sounds amazing.
And fig pie.
Figgy pudding.
And figgy pudding.
He's pouting, listener.
Now, for the reveal. Aaron comes back and removes his human ears, exposing his gross, pointed ears.
There's no way that those ears that he takes off
covered
the ears
giant fairy ears,
shows.
Pixie ears.
There's no way.
There's no way. He removes his slippers next, exposing his gross hairy feet with his gross long toenails.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that one.
Then he removes his house robe.
I can't do this one.
Exposing the thickest, longest patch of gross back hair imaginable.
Listener, I do not like to shame people for their appearance ever in any way. But this is another level.
This is beyond.
This is beyond what is human.
Quite literally, he's not human.
Exactly. So I feel a little more justified that I just can't.
It's so disgusting.
If you have back hair, that is fine. We're human beings. Yeah. Humans have hair. That's normal.
Yeah.
This is not human.
No.
Not at all.
But the most disturbing aspect of the scene, and this episode on the whole probably, is he begins meditating at this altar, making a low, guttural moaning sound as he stares straight into the eyes of the photo of Jake on the wall.
Ick.
Ick.
I have the ick.
And while he's distracted, they make their escape.
From the too tall bed.
What a spin on the Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
The bed
story.
was too tall.
The Banshee's bed was too tall. Oh, Goldilocks and the Three Banshees. Aw.
Can you please write that?
I will try. So in the next scene, Sean has now revealed to Jake that Aaron is a banshee.
Dun, dun, dun.
Aaron's a banshee.
Aye, the cruelest of all the pixies. They drink the tea of bluebells, foxgloves, and ragweed.
And Sean explains that they feed on human souls every 7 years, leaving some poor creature in its place, aka the changeling.
Mm-hmm.
No. I was a little bit upset about the lore in this episode, but this...
Oh, no.
I am the most upset about the banshees.
Yeah,
because this is not what a banshee is.
No.
Did you know what a banshee was? I'm about to get into it, but...
I would like for you to tell me, but I do
feel like... Were you, like, confused, or were you like, oh, sure,
No,
whatever.
I knew this wasn't it.
Yeah?
I knew this wasn't it.
Because I know that I've talked to people before who thought banshees were this.
Really?
I have had lengthy conversations with people that were like, no, they're predatory. I'm like,
interesting.
No, they're not.
So we talked a little bit about banshees in our Hey Arnold Headless Cabby moment.
We did address banshees a little bit, yeah.
Because they just kind of exist on the fringes, right?
Yes and no.
Okay. And they scream.
Yes and no.
Oh, see, that one I was pretty sure about.
Okay.
Because you've heard screaming like a banshee or...
Yeah.
Okay.
I will, let me read what I have or go through, and then we can discuss.
Yeah, please.
What we think a banshee is.
Okay.
I will say this first. The word banshee comes from the Irish probably Gaelic word banshee. And she here is spelled S-I-D-H-E. So it reads like Sid, but it's pronounced she.
Mm-hmm.
She, or another type of fae. The Lananshee is the spirit of life, inspiring poets and bards. The banshee is the spirit of death, or the foreteller of doom.
Yeah, because it was the carriage of death.
Right. Exactly. The death carriage.
It's a harbinger of death.
Yeah, the harbinger. It was you were saying that they accompanied him because they foretell your own doom, right? You said if you hear the carriage wheels, it means you're going to die.
Yes.
If you hear the ringing of bluebells, it means you're going to die.
Yes.
If you hear the cry of the banshee, it means you're going to die.
Right. The cry of the banshee. Mm-hmm.
This is all fairy lore. It's all connected. So let me read from this same book, The Legends, Charms, and Superstitions of Ireland from Lady Wilde. I love so much of what she had to say about all this, but
I love that.
These are just the moments I could get away with. This is a little bit lengthier, but hopefully we're all okay with it.
I'm here with you.
The banshee means especially the woman of the fairy race, as the Lananshee was the acknowledged spirit of life, given inspiration to the poet and the musician. So the banshee was the spirit of death, the most weird and awful of all the fairy powers. But only certain families of historic lineage, or persons gifted with music and song, are attended by the spirit. For music and poetry are fairy gifts, and the possessors of them show kinship to the spirit race. Therefore, they are watched over by the spirit of life, which is prophecy and inspiration, and by the spirit of doom, which is the revealer of the secrets of death. Sometimes the banshee assumes the form of some sweet singing virgin of the family who died young, who has been given the mission of invisible powers to become the harbinger of some coming doom to her mortal kindred. Or she may be seen at night as a shrouded woman crouched beneath the trees, lamenting with veiled face, or flying past in the moonlight, crying bitterly. And the cry of this spirit is mournful beyond all other sounds on earth, and betokens certain death to some member of the family whenever it is heard in the silence of the night. The banshee even follows the old race across the ocean and to distant lands, for space and time offer no hindrance to the mystic power which is selected and appointed to bear the prophecy of death to a family.
Damn.
So, essentially, in the oldest of fairy lore, banshees are messengers. They do not inflict any harm whatsoever.
Yeah.
They do not kill.
That's resonating. Yeah, that's what I think.
And they do not devour souls.
What is a banshee? It is but a messenger.
It is but a messenger.
And also, I really like that the spirit of life is with the poets and the musicians. Because I feel that.
And they are ascribed to certain families of like Irish heritage. Like,
it comes down through your lineage.
It's super spooky.
You have your own banshee.
You inherit your banshee. Yeah. Isn't that wild?
It's like Patronus, but worse.
Yeah. But like way worse. So yeah, that's what a banshee actually is. But to me, it's super confusing that in this episode, the banshee is depicted as this monstrous creature that preys on children. Aaron's plan is to devour Jake's soul and leave a changeling in his place so that nobody knows he's gone. Supposedly, that's what this toad is for.
That's to replace him with.
Right.
Indiana Jones style.
So Jake says to Sean that the toad used to be a human, And Sean says,
a changeling.
which I don't know if that's correcting him or affirming him. I can't really tell.
I couldn't tell either. I was very confused by that.
But he makes it clear to the audience and to Jake that this is the oath Jake has been taking in the play, only it's for real. Mm-hmm. It's turning him into a changeling. So I guess the idea is that Jake will become the Toad and the Toad will become Jake, the new Jake.
Right.
So let me see if I have this right. Aaron can't devour the souls of children while they're still in human form.
Oh.
They have to be enchanted and turned into a toad.
Right.
Which isn't uncommon in fairy tales.
I'll take that, I guess.
Princess and the Frog?
Sure.
Sure.
Gotta kiss some frogs.
Once in toad form, however, Aaron can slurp out the soul, leaving nothing but a simple toad behind.
Please don't slurp out my soul, mister.
Please, mister. Then, 7 years later, once Aaron has found a new victim and turned that kid into a toad and slurped out its soul, he transforms the toad he currently has into that kid's form. And now that's nothing more than a toad in human form. Is this how it works?
I don't know.
I don't know.
So he just has a chain of toad children?
I guess a chain of toad children that he can
it's like the
recycle
goblins.
them later.
Jareth's goblins. It's Aaron's toads.
But he keeps all the goblins, whereas Aaron is using the toad he has to turn it back into a child.
Right.
Just, it has no soul.
Is the implication that toads already don't have souls? Like, where are we on that?
I don't know
like,
if
where'd
that's
the toad's soul go?
I don't know if that's the main concern. I don't think they're actually toads, by the way. I think they're all human, right?
Right.
I don't know. In fairy lore, the changeling is either a fairy child.
Yes.
Or it's like a golem, and it's formed of mud and earth, and it's made into the visage of a human child that looks like you, only it literally has no soul.
Isn't.
It's just a thing that lives, and that's what's scary about changeling.
That terrifies me. Yeah, that's really scary.
Ugh. God. So
that's some Black Mirror shit.
That's some Black Mirror shit. If this is how it works, if I have this right, then why not just turn Jake into the toad, slurp out his soul, and then change him back into his human form? It's the same toad, it's the same human, just turn him back. I don't know. My question is why keep the toad around for 7 years?
Yeah.
And my only guess, my best
feed him flies and stuff.
You have to take care of it and keep it alive. I know, what a hassle.
Can toads even live 7 years? Do we know this?
I don't know. I know there are common familiars for witches, but
yeah.
My best guess is that the presence of the toad somehow aids in this ritual he performs at the altar.
Because it does feel very ritualistic. There's the altar, there are these herbs, there are things that he's trying to, incantations he's trying to get right.
It's a whole thing. I think it helps him to achieve his goal. It's just good luck for him, I think. So it's either this ritualistic good luck charm, or he keeps the toad as a perpetual reminder to himself of just how good he is at preying on children.
Oh, I didn't go there.
Either way you look at it, it's pretty dark.
Pretty dark. Hear, hear.
Hear, hear. I cheers you. I raise my glass to you, and I drink. May you be in heaven a full half hour before the devil knows you're dead.
What a great Irish cheers.
Got that from Peaky Blinders. One of my favorite Irish toasts.
Nice.
So the good news is we don't have to know exactly how this works because Sean does.
True, yeah, and he's helping us out.
He's helping us out. He's figuring this out for us, but it's about to get real weird before it gets any better. And gross, too.
Yes.
So now it's the opening night of the Will-o'-the-Wisp play. They're preparing for the final act and the demise of Aaron the Banshee. According to Sean, again, this is not true folklore, but according to Sean, there are 3 rules to beating a banshee.
Rule number 1, be fearless.
That's important.
Which is a good rule for life. Mm-hmm. But for no reason at all, he makes him eat 2 fugly-ass spiders just to prove that he is fearless.
Fearless. No reason at all. Really?
No reason at all.
Yeah, that was rough. That was one of the worst things to have him do on Are You Afraid of the Dark, I think.
Those were 2 of the nastiest things I've ever seen.
This was just for the fear factor, shock factor.
I tried to find what kind of spiders they were, and I couldn't actually find it. So if you guys know what those are, I'd love to know, honestly.
Do you know that I have 2 spiders hanging out on my porch right now?
I think I do.
Have I shown those guys to you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because there was
you
one,
came by.
then there were 2.
Yes, Now there are 2.
Yeah, you can walk right through them.
I've asked them nicely not to invade my doorway. And I'm short, ma'am. So
you got it.
Yeah, they said okay, and they so far haven't, but they have lived there for about a month now.
We're good dudes.
2 big old spiders. They're not even banana spiders. They're like something else.
Yeah.
But I say hello to them every time I enter and exit.
Maybe they're fairies.
Very well could be.
Maybe.
Very well could be. I don't want to evict them.
No.
My dad tried to ask one of them to write Terrific Pig.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it didn't work out.
Didn't work? Oh.
Anyway, they are 2 ugly spiders as well. So
yeah, that's true.
I relate. I will not eat them, regardless of who asked me to.
Hey, you know what? You don't need to. You can be fearless without eating spiders. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Here, Sean adds something to the Boda bag, which might be the rowan root.
That's what I thought.
But I don't know. The Are You Afraid of the Dark wiki page for this says he adds some like rocks to the Boda bag, but we never really see what it is.
But why?
Something. He adds something to it and just tells him, don't drink this, right? And then he sprinkles glitter all over Jake, which also could be the rowan root powder. I have no idea.
Okay.
But he's chanting.
Rowan tree, red thread, puts the witches to their speed.
Makes them run away.
Yeah, I guess so.
Puts them to their speed. Okay.
I think you're right. Yeah, I didn't really know.
Good.
Rowan tree, red thread.
Right.
Puts the witches to their speed. The only red thread I could find is the red thread of fate, but it's said to be an invisible thread that connects 2 like soulmates, like 2 lovers.
Yes, I've read about this.
And I'm just hoping it has nothing to do with the red thread of fate linking Jake to this banshee.
Yeah, I hope not.
He does want his glamour, but I mean, come on.
No, I don't think that they're soulmates. I would not go that far.
I don't think they're soulmates. That's my best guess.
Interesting.
Red thread. I have no idea.
Rule number 2. Give him a taste of his own medicine.
Not so much a rule, more of a game plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, hey, what do I know? I'm not a leprechaun.
Are you sure?
Well, I'm pretty sure. I don't have that great of luck. I don't know where any buried treasure is, so I'm pretty sure I'm not a leprechaun.
If you did know about buried treasure and you'd been holding out on me, I'd be pretty sad.
Well, it's my plight to protect it,
I guess.
not to reveal its secrets. So, if I did know, I wouldn't tell you. But you could bind me in iron and force me.
No, I could say mine be yours and yours be mine.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. Not a real trade. Not a real charm.
Rule number 3. Don't take your eyes off him. You must spellbind him. Lock your eyes with his and turn his own spell against him.
Which is kind of the same thing as rule number 2.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, the important thing here is don't take your eyes off of him.
This is the most important staring contest.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Ever.
Actually, have you heard this before? To do with fairies or leprechauns?
I don't know. Maybe. Because I do feel like the gaze is important.
Yeah. So, okay, this is significant because it said that if you ever see a leprechaun, or in this case, any type of pixie, you can't take your eyes off of it or else it will disappear.
Yes.
I have associated this with leprechauns forever.
Yeah, I feel like I have too.
People always said you can find a leprechaun near 4-leaf clovers,
Mm-hmm.
and if you see one, you can't even blink or it will take that opportunity to vanish.
Right.
So I've seen that depicted a whole bunch.
Me too.
In different things.
Everybody who's seen the leprechaun, say yeah.
Oh, that was one thing. Oh my God. We have to address this, don't we?
I wondered if we would or not. I didn't know.
I thought about it. It's not in my notes, but I'm not against it. God. So you might have heard of a little something called the Crichton leprechaun.
To me, it look like a leprechaun to me. All you gotta do is look up in the tree. Who else seen the leprechaun? Say yeah!
It was a viral internet video.
People in this neighborhood near where we live, thought they saw a leprechaun in a tree or something.
Could be a crackhead.
And it became a viral sensation.
Yes.
Of the people fully convinced
honestly,
that they saw a leprechaun.
At the end of the day, when you look at it for what it is, it's pretty cute because it's simply a group of people that just decided to get together and like hang out and with other people.
No, someone said, "Man, I thought that looked like a little leprechaun. You know those little folk? Let's look for the leprechaun."
They were hanging out looking for the leprechaun.
Yes, and they had fun.
I have been as far as Hamburg, Germany. And when I told someone where I was from, they asked me, Where the leprechaun lives?
Even the Last Podcast boys have joked about.
Have they?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
They didn't know where it was from. They were trying to figure out, like, where
it's
was
from
that?
Alabama, ladies
It's
and
from
gents.
Alabama.
Thems and days. It's from Alabama.
So, yeah, apparently there's a leprechaun in Alabama, and he was just trying to hide from the people who...
and he got away because apparently they lost his gaze.
They lost his gaze. You can't do that. Can't even blink. Let's get back to it. So, now it's the night of nights. They're performing the scene that we've watched them rehearse multiple times. Aaron drinks from the Boda bag and instantly knows something is wrong.
Who have you been talking to, boy?
He throws the Boda bag into the audience, causing Jake to lose his gaze. And then Aaron vanishes, then instantly reappears behind Jake as this monstrous, goblin-esque creature that in this story is meant to be his true banshee form.
And I mean, he doesn't really look like a banshee.
No, mostly because banshees are girls. Them's ladies.
Hey, he can be whatever he needs to be.
So he's approaching Jake, who falls down again and says,
Help! Help somebody! This is really happening!
You're mine forevermore!
Hello, Gort.
and just when it seems too late for Jake, Sean, the leprechaun, appears in a super smug way.
In a tree.
Calling Aaron by the name Gort. So now we know. They've known each other for a long time. Not only are they both fae, but they're old foes. They're old fae foes.
You were way too excited to say that.
I have it in bold.
Maybe that's only funny to people who write notes for podcasts like me, but I think that's hilarious that you have it in bold.
So
Faux
Gort.
pose, foes. Faux pose. Gilmore Girls. Anyway.
Wait, the Poe convention? Is that what you're
Faux
referencing?
pose, foes. It's a Kirk shirt.
Oh, God. Yes. So Gort uses his finger lightning to zap.
Finger lightning, very important.
Sean
out of a tree
with his old tricks.
Yeah.
And oh no, Sean is gone.
Sean is gone.
Whoops. Ooh, bye, Sean. And now Gort zaps Jake with his finger lightning. He's like the Sith.
That could be.
He's like the Sith from Star Wars.
I'm not going to interject
when he's getting
there.
all. I don't know any of those characters. But he shoots his finger lightning out and he pulls old Anakin up and he's all like, I got you, bitch. You're going to be a dark side Sith leader.
You're going to be a dark side now.
You're playing with the dark side now.
I love how we're both entirely serious, but no one would believe that.
I've seen Star Wars twice. All the way through.
Yeah, I think I've seen it twice as well.
Right. So yeah, okay, back to the finger lightning. Gort zaps Jake, completing the transition from human boy to changeling with the appearance of a toad, just wowing the audience who thinks this is the greatest display of special effects they've ever seen on a stage.
Almost word for word what I have written down as my note.
It's so funny.
It's as if you just read it from my note.
Yeah.
That is truly the coolest special effects showing on stage that one could possibly see.
They're having a blast.
They're enthralled.
They underpaid.
I mean, this is like a, community theater production.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And they're seeing people disappear and finger lightning.
Honestly, I wish I was in that crowd.
Sparkles. We're about to get to some sparkles that I want some of.
Sparkles look fun. They're fun. So this is all happening. It's chaos. He turns Jake into a toad, but gasp, Sean survived the finger lightning and once again reveals himself in a super smug way out of nowhere. And I mean, absolutely nowhere. Sean pulls a long tail.
He does.
From a bag.
Yeah.
And he cracks it like a whip.
Yeah.
And Gort confirms that it is indeed his banshee tail. Sean then proceeds to make the trade with Gort. The tail for the toad.
Because your tail's important, even though it's not attached to you. You probably want this, though, since it's your appendage.
I don't know the significance of the tail, but I have a guess.
Okay.
But I will also say first, though, that because Gort is technically a pixie, he can't refuse this trade, right? As we've discussed.
Right. This was important. We set ourselves up for this.
This is important. This is the whole point of that trade bit about can't refuse it. He has to give him the toad for his tail. I don't know why the tail essentially kills him or whatever. It makes him vanish, but it does. This got me thinking. I searched for everything I could think of in regard to the taking of the tail of any creature, including the devil himself.
To gain power over that creature.
So there is a lot of that in witchcraft, in other lore of that sort, of taking something that belongs to someone else. And I think that's probably a lot of what was being drawn here, why it makes logical sense in the folklore sense of this. All Google could provide me was some very odd accounts of stories where people twisted the devil's tails into knots, as well as something listeners might already be thinking, which is the legend of the Tailipo. We're going to cover that in a book report one day. Because I remember that story from my childhood. It's very scary.
Honestly, yeah. You saying that, I remember it, but I don't have, nothing's like...
It was written as a children's story, and it's the legend of a creature that the guy removes its tail and then cooks it for dinner. And then it's very much the legend of the big toe from Alvin Schwartz of like taking something that belongs to someone else, cooking it, eating it, and then the thing comes back and wants it.
Right.
And it gets it from you, however it has to get it from you. So there is that, but that's all I could find. And then it hit me. Let's take a deep breath, everybody.
I'm ready.
So unless I'm missing something, this leaves me with only one conclusion.
Do share.
What Sean pulls out of his bag is nothing more than a fairy tale. She's squirming. She's fallen over. Are you dead? Did you die?
Oh,
did you fall over and die?
I fell over and died. A fairy tale.
DJ was making a pun.
A fairy tale?
Yes. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. That's why I'm mad.
Do you find fault?
I don't
Am
find
I on trial?
fault.
If I were a witch, would I hang?
You wouldn't. You would go free.
That's it. That's all I have on that.
Damn. Well, damn.
Yes.
Okay.
Yours be mine, and mine be yours.
Sean throws the tail at Gort now, and Gort just disappears amidst a series of bangs and a flash of light, shrieking as a banshee is wont to do.
Really the only banshee-like thing he does.
Which leaves Jake the Toad Changeling on the stage. But Sean is able to return him to his human form by sprinkling the dust you were talking about.
Sparkles.
Absent friend, distant place, return to the human race.
Which I kind of liked that one.
It's pretty nice.
That was the best one, I think, of all of them.
Yeah.
In this episode.
If one of us is like going off the rails or something, like upset or angry,
I'll sprinkle you with dust and
I would sprinkle you with dust and say that too.
Chant that.
Yeah. Really what I'll do, it's like when you get hangry.
Yeah.
And I'll say that incantation and I'll feed you.
As you slide a Snickers across the table.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
My favorite part of this whole thing is Lucy in the wings, just confused as hell. When she's like going through her script and she's like, did I miss this in rehearsal?
Yes.
Like, what's happening?
She's like the stage manager.
I thought she
And
sold
that
it.
was me.
That was you?
I mean, hardcore. I mean, yeah, I stage managed in high school. I also acted, but I stage managed.
I see.
And wrote plays, in fact.
Wow. I've never read these.
Yeah. I have some fun memories from being backstage as a stage manager and like something gets, like we nailed something, like celebrating quietly.
Like high-fiving people.
High-fiving silently. Yeah. Amazing.
It's pretty cool. That's pretty sweet.
I didn't experience anything like Lucy did, thankfully.
Thank God. Thank Gort.
Or maybe I wish I had. I don't know.
But since Aaron has now disappeared, the play was never put on again. And I surmised that the theater was eventually shut down, yada, 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 and everyone lived happily ever after. So now we return to the Midnight Society.
Yes, we do.
For an applause and what amounts to a group hug around Eric.
Yep.
Which is genuinely sweet and poignant. And I appreciated it a lot because Eric was in mourning.
Exactly.
He was grieving.
I think that the stage play deserved the standing ovation that it got.
Sure.
And I think that despite the twists and turns and confusion of Eric's tale, he deserved the applause from the Midnight Society.
And the love from his friends.
Because they really did rally around him.
Yeah. He needed them to be there and they were, which is great. And that's honestly one of the strongest takeaways from this whole episode.
Yeah.
I like that he made it a point to show up to the meeting instead of missing it, using his grief to miss the meeting.
Instead, he used it to tell a story.
Exactly. I like that he took the opportunity to commemorate the death of his grandfather by honoring the thing he likely cherished most about him in his life. And that was his ability to tell a scary story.
Absolutely.
So here are my final thoughts.
Please.
I think instead of it being revealed that Aaron is a banshee, which goes against so much folklore, I think that Aaron should have either been revealed as a goblin or a troll.
Agreed.
Here's why I think they didn't go with a goblin, because it would have mirrored the play exactly with the leprechaun and the goblin trying to fight over the boy's life and his soul and protect him.
I think that would have been fine.
I think it would have been fine, but I think they didn't want to do it exactly. Or maybe DJ wanted to, and someone said, hey,
sure,
change whatever he is. Fix that. But I don't know. Maybe DJ had the whole plan from the beginning. I have no idea.
Don't know.
However, if they had gone with a troll, that would have been absolutely perfect, because trolls are not what we think. They're also very close to all these other fae in real life folklore, in fairy tales. They can shapeshift. They can look like anything else. They can look like you and me.
Yeah.
And then they reveal that they're trolls. And if you look at Aaron's banshee, appearance when he's Gort officially, he just looks like a goblin.
He does.
And he could pass as a troll. Like, he could just look like a troll.
Honestly, they could have done the whole thing pretty much exactly the same way, but just in anywhere they said the word banshee, they could have just said troll.
I know.
Pretty much that would have been all it would take.
And it would have been perfect.
Yeah.
Trolls do eat humans. That's what they live to do.
They do.
They entrap humans. They trick them. They deceive them. They lure them into their homes just so they can cook them and eat them.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, there's also the gatekeeping at bridges and stuff, and how they,
That's what I think of.
Answer the riddles and such. I mean, there are different bits of the lore, but a lot of what I have read about trolls is that they just eat humans.
It would have made sense in this circumstance.
I mean, so much sense.
I like the name Banshee. I think it's cooler.
I mean, I do wish there was more to the Banshee lore, but they're just messengers.
That's kind of the thing. It's like, if you're going to use it, I wish that it were a little more incorporated.
Yeah. But I thought that the darkest part of this whole episode is that, as old as Gort is, or was, I guess he died, I have no idea, is that he had to devour a new soul every 7 years. And that is dozens of people he's entrapped, enchanted, and ultimately eaten. And if we know anything from this episode and this universe, they were probably all children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty dark.
That's pretty dark, y'all. So with all that in mind, my my scarometer is a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
Just because, there's a lot there. I gave Sorcerer's Apprentice a 4 out of 10. And I'd say this is scarier than Sorcerer's Apprentice.
I would be the opposite.
Really? It's not as scary as Sorcerer's Apprentice?
No, I think it's less scary to me. I don't know why. But I think it's less scary just in, like, visually.
Yeah.
Probably. Because in terms of real world lore, this may be a little more spooky, but I think visually I was more scared of Sorcerer's Apprentice. So
that's cool. I mean, that makes sense. That's fair.
And I don't remember what I gave it, but it's less scary than that to me.
You also gave that a 4.
Did I? Okay. Then maybe a 3.
Okay.
I wasn't scared of this one.
That's fair. We all have different fears. My reasoning is that basically, like things we've said before, Aaron was someone that Jake looked up to. He cast him in his play.
Yeah.
Everyone thought that Aaron was this genius.
I'll raise it to a 4 based on that alone. I resonate there.
Okay. And
someone that you trust, taking advantage of your trust.
Yeah. He doted on Jake, showing him special attention, complimenting him, really doing everything he could to earn Jake's trust and respect. And this predatory nature is absolutely terrifying, because it's a cold, harsh, bitter dose of reality.
Amen.
That anyone could reveal this true nature of their own at any point.
Yep.
And suddenly become someone that you don't even recognize anymore.
Yowza.
And I've had this happen to me before. Obviously, it wasn't a banshee or a goblin or a troll or a leprechaun or anything. Just a human. But it is devastating when it happens, and it's scary, and it's heartbreaking.
Absolutely.
So I really appreciated seeing it depicted in this way. I thought it was clever.
It's a good point. I guess I really just wasn't putting a lot of stock into their previous like friendship, relationship.
Right.
But I think if you frame it like that, I totally see where you're coming from.
Yeah. I thought it was just nice to see it like in this old kids show from the 90s, because just
somebody
like
that you trust could turn on you.
Oh yeah. I mean, stranger danger, right? You don't really know anyone, do you?
No.
But this, just like all the old fairy tales, it works as a cautionary tale for kids who will always need to learn that trust is something that has to be earned and never taken for granted.
Preach.
Amen, y'all.
Hallelujah.
Everybody seen Leprechaun say, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Well, nicely done.
Thanks.
I feel like I've been to Ireland and back.
Oh, ye old Ireland. You think you've been
in fact,
prancing
I wish
among the
that
fairy
been to Ireland
rings,
and back.
dancing widdershins and singing their fairy songs?
Please. Yes, please. Take me.
Man, I learned so much about fairies this week. I read so much fairy lore. I love it, though. It's super cool. I learned things I didn't know.
We're doing all the fairy and goblin stuff.
We're kind of right in that field, huh?
We're in that pocket.
We're in that pocket. It's kind of perfect to lead into our Halloween season, too, coming out.
Absolutely.
That's like next. I mean, we got one more, and then we got October.
Got one more, and then we're going to be into the Halloween times.
We have a lot of really fun stuff planned for Halloween.
Oh, we can't wait.
The whole month. So should we go ahead and say, like...
Yeah, let's do it.
Every single week in October, there's going to be an episode for you.
You're getting an episode every week.
Every single week.
We know how much the month of October means to those like us, those like-minded individuals.
Sure.
So we're going to spend the entire month with you.
Yeah, we can't wait.
I cannot wait.
And not to mention, our anniversary is October 2nd.
That's right.
For our first episode release.
1 year of our podcast.
Yeah. And also, we're going to have a giveaway.
Sure are. We keep
might be happening
it.
By now. I mean, we're recording in advance, so I don't know if it's
we're recording in advance. So check out our Instagram right now just to make sure you didn't miss it. And if you did miss it, terribly, terribly sorry.
No, not yet. You haven't yet. It's still September. You got this.
You probably still got time.
You got time.
Mm-hmm. Tell a friend about our show. If you like our show, and just chances are, if you like our show, you probably have some friends that might too.
Oh, chances are.
And we, at the end of the day, are all friends here together.
Aren't we, though? I had this thought. Tell me if I'm lame.
You're lame. No. Go ahead.
I mean, I am lame anyway. What if we called our followers the Pretty Darklings?
The Pretty Darklings.
I mean, a Darkling is also a type of lore.
Yeah,
There's Darkling lore there, too.
Absolutely. But at least we get to call them pretty.
We can call them our Pretty Darklings.
That's pretty
Should we do that from now on?
Yeah, you guys let us know how much that offends you. And we will act accordingly.
I don't know.
Whether that means we do it or we don't.
I liked it.
We'll, to find out.
I thought about that in the shower, too, one day. I was like...
Shower thoughts with Christian.
Oh, I could have a whole Twitter.
Oh, I know you
just
could. You could write a book. Thoughts. You'll text me sometimes just with these things that come out of the
still
clear
in the shower.
Blue while you're still in the shower, and you'll be like,
I know.
Here's this thought that I had. I just solved world hunger or something. Anyway, I'm going to get out of the shower now.
Anyway, yeah, you want to watch Gilmore Girls?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's our life right now. That's how it goes.
It's a good life.
It's a good life. But so is October. We're super pumped. Thanks for listening. Do you have anything else to say about fairies or leprechauns or anything else that I'm missing?
No. Nope.
Sweet.
I don't.
Good.
You covered it all very thoroughly.
I did.
But thank you, listener, for being here with us to explore the confusion together.
Yeah. If you guys know about anything I missed that adds any more confusion or clarity to this episode, let me know.
Yeah, you can always hit us up.
Let us know your favorite part of fairy lore.
Have you ever seen a fairy ring?
Ooh.
And if so, how did it go for you?
Have you ever been enchanted?
Ooh, what's the best prank you ever pulled?
Ooh, that too.
Tell us. Tell us.
We want to know about all of it. Yeah. So, good luck out there as you come across your fairies.
Yeah.
Don't make any trades or deals that you can't, you can't back up with brute force and strength.
Don't write a check your ass can't cash.
God, that's so good. I think we should leave it at that.
What more can you say?
Catch you guys next time. Stay safe out there.
Bye, guys.
Pretty Darklings.
Thanks for listening to That's Pretty Dark, written and produced by Christian Baxter Mott and Kalyn Andrews.
Our music is composed by Jonathan Simmons, and our art is provided by Paige Garland at Power Girl Illustration.
Join the collective nostalgia and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at That's Pretty Dark Podcast.
Share your experiences and let us know what shows, films, or villains still haunt you from childhood at that'sprettydarkpodcast@gmail.com. Remember, you're never really alone.
So until next time, sweet dreams, everyone.
Give me the go. I want to go.